I was home for Thanksgiving in Massachusetts a few years back. This was before I got married, before Livia and I celebrated the holiday together, and in between all the prep for hosting, since my family was always the house that everyone gathered at, I took a walk. I grew up on a road with no sidewalks, next to a raspberry farm, and about a quarter mile down was some conservation land with miles of trails. I grew up going for walks in these woods, taking the dogs with us, and seeing the seasons change as we crunched through the leaves, or strapped on snowshoes, or pulled up the wellies to trudge through mud season. I had done that walk a lot of times in my life. And that particular Wednesday before Thanksgiving, it was a beautiful, crisp day. The sky was the kind of blue you pull from a crayon box, and the sun was high and still transmitting a bit of warmth if you stood still in it. The air was clear and cold, so I bundled myself and went out. I've never been in the habit of listening to anything when I go for my walks. I tend to get a little overstimulated. Plus, on a windy, ruralish road with no sidewalk, you need to be able to hear the cars around the bends before you see them. And I like to hear it all when I'm in the woods. I like to hear the bird song and the wind in the branches. I like to hear the trickle of the cold brook and the weird chipping of the squirrels. And so I'm on this walk, breathing deeply, hearing the world unfold around me, and this trail, about a mile in, you crest a small hill and the trees give way to a clearing. The view opens up. The sky appears enormous, and you're standing in a wide brown field. And then in the distance, you can see a horse farm with a few paddocks, and down the road to the left is the school bus route that I took when I was in first and second and third grade. And as I crested this hill and took a few steps out into the openness and into this field, I was overcome. What a magnificent day. What a magnificent moment to be alive in this world, alone as I was, and I fell to my knees. I fell to my knees, and I felt the cold, slightly damp ground give way beneath my weight, and I fell further still, pressing my forehead to the ground, inhaling the smell of dirt and letting the tiny crystals of dust imprint on my face. And then I lifted up, resting my palms on my thighs, and I sat, momentarily stunned by what had just happened. I don't come from a kneeling tradition. I don't come from a fall on your knees before the majesty of creation kind of tradition, and yet here I was, brushing the dirt off my face and wiping at my knees, which only moments before had given way beneath me, and I glanced around nervously, perhaps that someone might have seen this private, transcendent moment of gratitude. This private, transcendent moment of humility. Because when I stood and I pondered what it was that had come over me in that moment, it was a strange and intoxicating blend of gratitude and humility. I felt astonished to be alive, to breathe that cold air, to feel the snot on my face and my cheeks as they burned against the cold, and my eyes that squinted in the November sun, all amidst a land I knew and treasured, a land that held the contours of my life and my memories. I felt connected to that which matters most, and I felt astonished. For all the walks I had taken here and never before appreciated so deeply, for all the times I took for granted the day I had been given, for the ways I had been dismissive of my parents since taking up my childhood bedroom again, for all the moments in my life that led me to this one, for all the moments I had survived, the moments I had passed through, all of the choices I had made that led me to this clearing and this crested hill. I felt humbled and exceedingly grateful. I'm curious if any of you have ever experienced a moment of transcendent gratitude. If any of you have ever felt so full of appreciation and profound thankfulness that you too fell to your knees, or you wept, or you raised your arms in incredulity. Me, I get to experience this. I get to draw this breath. I get to love like this. I get to laugh with you. I get to wake up today. Me, little old me. Perhaps you survived a cancer scare, a brush with death, and your own fragility. Each of our precarious grips on life laid bare your desire to live. Perhaps you've watched someone else lose their life, and your grief became an engine of appreciation. Perhaps you know what it is to have nothing or no one, to be of despair. And when you claw your way out of that valley, you look back in awe at what your life has become. Or perhaps it's simply that you try to attune yourself to the Phoebe and the dug-up clam, to the irrepressible shine of the midnight sky and the warmth of an embrace. Let me keep my mind on what matters, which is my work, which is mostly standing still and learning to be astonished, writes Mary Oliver. Let me keep my mind on what matters most, the work of learning to be astonished. In that moment, where the wooded path gave way to an open field and sky, I learned. And to be astonished, to seek out those moments of transcendent gratitude at the gift of your own life, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take piles of money or the right outfit or the newest technology. It doesn't take a fancy meal or an elaborate present. It takes simplicity. Simplicity of desire and simplicity of satisfaction. A message we hear over and over again, bordering on trite, yet the kernel of truth remains: give yourself to simplicity. Release yourself from seeking ever more money, ever more possessions, and you will learn the way of astonishment. Throughout my life, when my family gathers for a meal, before we begin to eat, we say what we are grateful for. We go around one by one for a moment of gratitude, a kind of you grace. And in my most obnoxious of years, when I felt the need to correct everyone around me about everything, I commented once, "It feels like we aren't really taking the time to be intentional with our gratefuls. We always just kind of say the same thing, like we're rushing to just get to the meal." Eye rolls ensued. Because each of us did always say the same thing: I'm grateful to be together. And maybe we were rushing a bit, and it had lost some of its novelty, but the truth was the same each and every time. The truth was simple each and every time, and I didn't need to admonish people to dig deeper for something more significant, something more elaborate, something more insightful. It was the simplest desire: to be together. That gave way to the simple satisfaction. It was a bright blue sky against a sun-dried brown field that brought me to my knees. It was breaking bread with my family when we lead busy, busy lives that demanded an acknowledgement of gratitude. I hear a phrase tossed around these days by younger generations, "It's not that deep," they say. It's not that deep. Like, don't make it more complicated than it needs to be. Don't muck it up with bigger, more intense interpretations than are necessary. And on this Sunday, just after Thanksgiving, when I'm here talking to you now about how to be astonished, I want to push that message. It's not that deep. It's not that complicated. You got up today. Be astonished. You drew a breath. Be astonished. You have a life to live. Be astonished. The sun rose. Be astonished. The moon will be revealed. Be astonished. Time will pass. Be astonished. 'Tis a gift to be simple. 'Tis a gift to be free. We sang during our time of prayer, simplicity grants us space to be free. Free from distractions and elaborations, free from ornamentations and compensations. In that freedom, we might find astonishment. In moments of profound gratitude, moments of humble truth that it is to be alive that is the greatest gift of all. That our work is to stay attuned to that which matters most, to mostly stay still and seek satisfaction from the barest of ambitions, to draw another breath, to sing another song, to sit beside a friend. And so, beloveds, I send you forth today with instructions to recognize a simple gift from the universe and to prepare yourself, little old you, in body and in mind and in spirit, for that moment when you might be struck with astonishment, falling to your knees, and to know deep in your soul that which matters most. Blessed be, and amen.
Hi, I'm Reverend Hannah Capaldi.
And I'm Reverend Abby Tennis. We are the ministers at the First Unitarian Church of Philadelphia, where our mission is to awaken love and justice in our lives and in the world.
We're so grateful that you watched, and we hope that the sermon connected with your soul.
We also want to invite you to join us for a live worship service every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You can always find the link to that service on our website at www.philauu.org. In these services, you'll hear words like you've just heard, and you also get a chance to greet one another, pray together, sing together, and we even hold a virtual coffee hour after services to get a chance to greet some new and old friends.
If you want to support the mission of this community and you feel moved to give, you can do so by going to the website that Reverend Abby just mentioned. You can find that link below, or you can text 215-709-5095 and follow the prompts to give.
If someone in your life needs to hear these words today, we encourage you to share this video. And again, thank you so much for watching.
We hope to see you soon.